Hi and welcome to today's episode of Women's Health Unwrapped with me, Nicola Fondell, a weekly show dedicated to helping women like you to unlock the secrets of true health and vitality by empowering you to know the value of your health and what might be the most impactful healthy habits for you to build in your life right now. Now, today I'm joined by a fantastic guest who's sharing a bit of a combination of a real life story with some expertise in hormonal health through the lens of plants and herbs. I'm joined by the lovely Candice Mason, founder of Mother Cuppa, and as you'll hear more about in our conversation, she's going to share how Mother Cuppa came about, what it actually offers, how she believes connecting to what's going on in your body and really having that self-awareness of how you feel can be so vital in helping you to take better care of yourself and bring more balance to your hormones as you navigate all things menopause and midlife. So let's get into the conversation with Candice. Hi Candice, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you ever so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to chat to you about your story and, of course, what it is you do now to help women feel healthier, especially in menopause and midlife. But just to kick us off, I'd love to know from you, what would you say right now is your most impactful healthy habit in your toolkit?
Well, that's really interesting. Well, obviously my tea blends are my absolute go-to. I'm currently just exploring how to increase the amount of fibre in my diet because I'm reading a lot about how helpful that is. So yes, that's kind of what my current focus is.
Brilliant. And are you feeling any benefit from trying to make that change?
Yeah, actually I've sort of moved away from that obviously eating lots of protein is really great for you, but actually making sure you're getting a similar increase in fibre has actually given me more energy, made me feel fuller for longer, so I'm not snacking so much. So yeah, it's been quite a good move, to be fair.
Oh yeah, it sounds brilliant. And it's great when you can feel the difference from something that you're trying to positively change, isn't it? It gives you those ripple effects to want more of it.
Totally. And I'm a real believer of what you put in your body is what you get out of it. And I find it fascinating, which is how I sort of ended up getting into what I've gotten into. So yeah, I'm a real interest in sort of nutrition and what's going in my body and how it affects me, really.
Yeah, and I'm interested to know kind of putting more fibre into your diet and body. What has been some of your favourite things that you've tried that are perhaps new and not what you would have usually not eaten very often?
Do you know what? I've got a new go-to breakfast, which I'm absolutely raving about, which I didn't think I would be the sort of person who would love. I have always been an eat eggs and kind of salmon for breakfast, but I've got this new sort of chai oats overnight. And so chai seeds are something that are quite new to my diet, and flax, ground sort of linseed flax powder, which I've sort of dabbled with a little bit before, but I've started adding it into sort of homemade cookies and bakes and things like that. So that's been a nice way to add some fibre in without even realising that I'm doing it. So yes.
And of course, both of those things have lots and lots of different nutrients and omega-3s as well, things that we really do need as we navigate menopause.
And both go beautifully with a cup of tea.
Oh, very nice. So on that note, let's dive into your story. Take me back to your hormonal journey and what you experienced, which for you was quite a part of your life for a long time as a young adult, wasn't it?
Yeah, so I was diagnosed with endometriosis as a late teen, which is pretty unique to get that sort of diagnosis. I mean, we're talking I think it's 25 years ago now, which seems such a long time ago. So very, very unusual, but I was very poorly. I'd never at that point had a normal cycle. They were quite debilitating. I would be off of school, work, whatever, for periods of time. I would have a lot of knock-on effects. That was one of the biggest problems with my endometriosis, was that it didn't just affect my cycle, but when I had quite a big operation, the lining of the endo had effectively stuck my kind of bowels, bladders, kidneys. They found it in my kidneys, in my liver. So I'd had quite a big operation to try and alleviate that. But prior to that, it was all of the knock-on effects that I would have. So kidney infections, bladder infections, problems with liver, just endless. It was pretty relentless. I had the operation, and then part of the treatment back then, and I don't believe they do it like this anymore, but they induced my body into a medically induced menopause and then reversed it back. So I then had sort of about 18 months worth of hormone injections. And I think the idea was that they would sort of laser the endo where they could find it in the body, stop my whole cycles and almost control the restart of them. So yeah, not particularly a pleasant experience to go through in your early 20s when
No.
all of your friends were out night clubbing and all sorts of bits and pieces. Yeah, I would say it was quite a challenging time. We didn't have social media back then, did we? You had to, you didn't talk about these things with
Yeah.
people. I didn't really even talk about it with my mum, like not the kind of gory details or any of the ins and outs of it. But I'd been on so much medication throughout all of this that when that hormone treatment finished, I thought, do you know what? I'm just going to come off of everything. I just want to know if this has worked, if my body, I want to know what a normal cycle is supposed to feel like. And so I'd started exploring more natural ways to look after my body, got introduced to different nutritional ideas, sort of yogas and Pilates and things like that, which again, back then was all a little bit woo-woo and kind of nobody was really talking about those things. And the library had ordered me a book from somewhere else in the world and got it delivered and what have you. And there was all these bits and pieces about how to sort of help with endometriosis. And there was a really small section on medicinal plants that might support you. So I went to my local health food shop and the lady in there just happened to be really interested in women's health. And so she would give me kind of all these weird and wonderful lotions and potions and ingredients and bits and pieces to manage. And she would say to me, oh, the best way to imbibe this is to infuse it within a tea. So that's kind of where it all really started. And I just played with different ingredients. And again, a bit like I'm doing now, just changing how much I'm eating and what have you, and just played around with things. And I kept sort of food journals and diaries and bits and pieces to try and sort of work out the things that worked for me, I guess, over the years.
So it sounds like you were really determined, because I've got a backstory with my health, and back when my problems started in 1995, specifically with mental health, like you, there was no social media. The internet wasn't even invented, or had just literally been invented, but was very, very basic. But you used a phone, like you said, you went to the library for information. So I remember taking a similar route and being really determined that I would find an answer in the books. That was just logical, and how you approached it. And it sounds similar for you in that you had this determination and conviction that there was a solution for what you were experiencing.
I think,
As
yeah,
you,
you
yeah.
get so low, don't you, that you think this can't be it.
And did you feel that, obviously you've mentioned some of the pain and physical problems that having endometriosis cause, but were you struggling with emotional and mental health as well because of the pain?
Yes, and I felt different to my friends because I just wasn't having the same things. And because endometriosis wasn't really talked much about, I was used as a bit of a case study. So then you'd have doctors and nurses, mainly doctors, sort of junior doctors and researchers and things like that. And I just felt really prodded and poked and just thought, this is all just a bit weird, really, and I don't like it. And I just kept thinking, the answer cannot be more medication. It just can't. I don't believe that. There has to be some things that I can do that are going to help me. I mean, I'd already by that point, so it's probably, you must have a very similar story. You start to think, okay, yeah, alcohol is not adding any value to my life as a 20-year-old with this health condition. And there were other things, I knew that if I'd had a kind of week where I'd pizzas and takeout and stuff like that, that it really impacted how I was feeling. So I'd already started to spot a few signs. And I noticed also that when I was stressed, actually it made things worse. So I guess that more holistic approach to how you're looking after your body was, it sounds really similar to you. You start exploring and asking questions and trying to find the answers to you as a person.
So that inquisitive nature led you to plants and herbs, and as you said, and it's so bizarre sometimes when you think about how things turned out, because you could have gone into another shop that had a male person working there who wasn't interested, but you met that lady who was
Yeah,
really
totally.
engaged, and yeah.
She was amazing. Like, what she didn't know about what plant, I mean, I would have called her a witch doctor back in those days. She was amazing. And just her empathy to what was going on with me. And look, I definitely, I wasn't stupid to think plants are going to solve all of my life problems, but I needed something to take great comfort from it. I needed to be able to find something that was comfortable, that was giving me comfort, and that made me feel a little bit in control of what was going on. And that was one of the things that made me feel like I had a sense of control over it, rather than how it had felt previously, where I felt like I was being controlled by this condition, and doctors who didn't really know what they were doing giving me just pills for stuff. And I just never felt like they actually did any good. I felt like they made me feel worse. And I mean, the going through a medically induced menopause is horrific. It was so quick and so fast, and people didn't talk about menopause until just a few years ago. So I couldn't even talk to my mum about it because she hadn't even hit that age yet.
Wow. So
So
how old were you when the medically induced menopause
20.
happened? With 20?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And sorry, how old are you now, if you don't mind me asking?
I just turned 43. Thank you for asking. I'm 21, I think.
So yeah, so going back like 23 years or so.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally different world.
Totally different. And I didn't talk to my friends about it. I mean, I had real rages, I had hot flushes, I mean, it completely knocked my confidence and made me feel really low. What else did I have? Oh my goodness, all the symptoms that you see listed now that you're hitting the phase. And yeah, it's just wretched. So I think for me, the plants and the holistic health and the looking at my diet gave me lots and lots of control over, and allowed me to sort of channel some of that into a more healthier, I guess, option.
It's so interesting how you've just said that, because I talk a lot about taking back control of your health, and how when you're in control, that in itself is so powerful. And I really believe that a big part of navigating menopause and midlife is having the right knowledge and understanding, awareness of what's changing and why those changes can lead to the type of symptoms you might have physically or mentally. And what you've said there is just so aligned, in the sense that when you are in control, that in itself is really empowering. And for many people, not just for those women in menopause, can be the thing that shifts the outcome of what's going on. Because as you said, that on its own wasn't going to fix endometriosis, or some of the ripples that caused, and how you felt and had to live and so on. But just taking control through those steps of looking into it and
Yeah.
finding out more about holistic health.
And I think having a level of patience with things, which I didn't realise I possessed until much later in life, understanding that one cup of tea was not going to fix all of my, all of my problems.
Which British people think, don't they? Let's have a cup of tea.
I wish I could wave that magic wand for everyone, and I genuinely mean that as well. But it's about incremental changes, and it is about consistency, which is really boring. It's definitely boring when you're in your 20s. It's even more boring when you're in your 40s, doing it all over again. I lost my way sometimes over the years. I went back to things, but I 100% noticed differences in me if I had not looked after the nutrition. Hydration was a massive part of my life as well, because a lot of the pain that you get from endometriosis is caused by inflammations, and I could definitely see patterns in when I hadn't consumed enough water, fluid, teas, whatever. So for me, hydration is a huge amount. And I speak to women now doing what I'm doing who tell me, I just don't drink enough water. Or I speak to teachers who have got to 3 o'clock in the afternoon and the kids are going home and they haven't had a glass of water all day.
Yeah.
And then they wonder why they've got what they think are gut health issues and, migraine issues and things like that. And I just can't help but wonder, is social media is so good at talking about food, but one of the fundamentals is making sure you're consuming enough fluid. And I just think, anyway, that's my little passion project, to talk to women more about fluid and the impact it can have on your health.
So you've teased a little bit. you've talked about now you're doing something connected to this. So yeah, what was that journey like then through the last 20 something years as you embarked on finding out more about holistic ways to support health with
Yeah, so
herbs and plants
it's
being
only
a big
ever been
part?
a personal kind of interest and hobby of
Right.
mine. Well, I didn't even describe it as a hobby back then, but it definitely was. So I got really into different ingredients and what they could do. And I used to keep a journal of what I'd taken, and I'd take it over a period of time, and I would look at what was happening with my symptoms, my life, my health, and things like that. Again, it was purely for my own personal benefit. Much later, I think I was on sort of, I must have been on herbal email lists and bits and pieces over the years. And an opportunity came around to train as a tea sommelier and specialise in blending, which is what I went on to do. So I went to train, and I just found it really, again, just really fascinating, was really into that already, and just thought, oh, that would be fun, I'll try that out. And I met some really great people on the course and got the opportunity to go and judge on tea tasting awards, which again were all voluntary. It was all just my little thing that I like to go and do. And I found that really fascinating, because then I was looking at other people, what they were creating, and sort of thinking, what I'm creating is really good actually in comparison to what I'm kind of tasting here, and mine have some more health benefits. So again, never thought I would do anything with it. And in the lockdowns, the first one, probably like everybody whose life was just turned upside down, I was quite poorly, and I'd had some real issues with my sleep, and I'd started struggling with anxiety, which was something I had never experienced before. And I thought that was stress of what was happening. My husband and I ran a business, or, there was a lot going on, and I just thought this is all too much. But by the time we came out of lockdowns, it kind of hadn't really improved and hadn't really calmed down. So I went along to, I see a female health GP, and I have done for quite a number of years, sort of private one. And she just said to me, I know exactly what this is. Candice, I think you're in early menopause. So they did their blood tests and what have you. And so, yes, so that's what had been going on unbeknownst to me. And actually, when I look back on it, I think, oh, that's probably happening a little bit before those lockdowns. I can pinpoint a few other things that had been going on. But honestly, I was both elated and utterly shocked, because I think I was 38, 39 or something like that. And I was elated because it meant my cycles would stop, and I would be free of what I've just spent 20 years trying to manage. But I was in utter shock, because to me, at that point, and don't forget, Davina McCall still hadn't done her lovely documentary, people didn't talk about menopause before you're even 40. And I felt like I needed to get ready for retirement. That's what I actually thought. That first bit, I thought, oh, well, that's it, life's over. And I genuinely had a panic about, oh gosh, I haven't done all the things I wanted to do, and there's loads of passions I wanted to explore, and I'm working. I was working with my husband at the time, and I was like, that is not what I wanted to do. And so I started really questioning all of my life choices. Because my husband and I had been running the business for so long, I just thought, I'm completely unemployable now. I don't think anyone would even employ me, and I didn't know what I even wanted to do. And I was chatting a couple of times to a friend of mine about it all, and she was like, why are you not doing something with these tea? Like, you could just try it and see if people like it. And so that was kind of the seed that was sown, and here I am today. So I am founder of Mother Cuppa, which is coming up for 3 years old, and is a range of herbal teas to support women with hormone health and well-being. And I'm predominantly focusing on women in that kind of midlife space who want to have conversations with me about hot flushes and all the things that we're juggling nowadays, and that kind of midlife shift and cycle and chapter.
What a
So yeah.
story. And it's incredible what you shared there about looking at it, and because you were younger, I think there was even more weight on the fact that it felt as though you were aging, because we've had that perception in our generation that menopause was for old women,
Yeah,
old
totally.
ladies with grey hair and shopping trolleys.
Yeah.
And that it meant the beginning of the decline into old age. It's like the slippery slope. And obviously we are living longer, than what past generations did. We're living much longer beyond menopause. Sadly, whole other topic, we're living longer in poorer health, even though we're
Yeah.
here for longer. More of that time is spent, for women especially, in poor to ill health. But yeah, as you said, it brought everything to the surface, and I think this is where many women struggle. And it can be a combination of the hormonal impact of what's going on psychologically in your brain, as well as those physical symptoms, but also just that look at your life and where you're at and feeling like this is the crossroads of midlife, and now it is that slope downwards, and you've grasped that, which is what I'm trying to encourage women to do, is to look at it and go, okay, maybe there is going to be some changes and shifts and things I need to look at and improve and manage symptom wise, but also it's an opportunity, which I think for many women is the first time. And it sounds like that was the case for you, to go, what do I actually want? Like, what matters to me? And not, which I think many of us can do that, feeling like the clock's ticking fast, it's like a countdown's on and I'm running out of time, but actually to instead take it as a space to go, okay, I do have time, and this is the second half of my life. And so for you to launch a brand new business, and you did that in quite a different way-ish. I know some people do this as well, but you chose to crowdfund to start to build the business and get it where it is today. So like, what was that like, putting
Yeah.
yourself out there to do
Look,
that?
everything you've just said is so relatable. You definitely end up at that crossroads. I was definitely in a really reflective, quite scared space about that chapter. My daughter was going off to university. So lots and lots of changes. And I just thought, right, that you could take this one way or the other. You can go all in and make the changes. I literally wrote down the life I wanted, the values I wanted to live by, the things I'd learned. Like, I really spent some time analysing myself as a person and what I wanted out of it. I went to see a therapist. I made a lot of changes really quickly. Just to kind of, I just got stuck in this rut, I guess. Everybody must feel that at some point. So the business was big goals. It was all in or not at all kind of thing. So we launched, and I say we because my husband's in the background filling in spreadsheets telling me how much I haven't got, mainly. And so we launched the business. We've done a lot of market research that had good traction. Launched the business, had a really, really great first year. And at some point during that second year, people had started asking me about when I was going to release another blend or what have you. But running a product-based business is so hard. I'd never used social media other than Facebook to share pictures of my family. So I entered this world that I didn't know much about, and it stopped me dead in my tracks, feeling like a complete imposter. Product-based business would require huge amounts of investment in terms of the product, the packaging, the kind of getting everything set up, and you've got to have stock sort of sitting ready to go. And what happened was we'd grown quite quickly, and I still am just ploughing any money that business earns back into keeping the stock control managed. So that was completely new to me. And that customers would say, oh, can we have a new blend? I thought, God, how do you do this next bit? I've used all my money up. There is no spare money. And I started exploring funding and what those options were for businesses. And I came across some horrifically shocking stats around female founded businesses and funding. 2p of every pound is going to a woman, like big stats around how difficult it was going to be to get funding. And I just thought, crikey, what on earth have I created here? What on earth am I going to do about it? And I'd seen about crowdfunding, but there were some limitations to that. So you lose a lot of money because you pay for platforms to run it through. And I kept thinking, so anyway, a really long story is that I basically launched the crowdfunding campaign on my own website. I had a few female founded friends who'd gifted their products and services. And we had this design of this new blend. And we talked to my audience on social media. And I sort of said to them, this is how we're going to try and bring this blend to market, is we're going to ask you to pre-order it. If you can buy my friend's products, the money that we get from there is also going to go to it. And if any of you want to donate, like my mum, you can make a donation. And we had a target to raise £7,000, and we ended up raising 928 days, and we ended up with 60 female founded businesses supporting the campaign.
Wow.
And I only had an audience on Instagram of about 3,000 people. Tiny, really. And do you know what? It was the scariest move I'd ever made, to put myself out there to ask people about money. It was so uncomfortable. But people loved it. They loved feeling a part of the brand. And that meant so much to me. It wasn't the money, it was that people genuinely were cheering me on, really wanted to try the product, really bought into what Mother Cuppa is trying to achieve. And yeah, we smashed it together. So it's not my business anymore, it's all of ours.
That's amazing. Fantastic. Well done. And it's brilliant that you've brought all of these other women into the community, which I know is at the heart of what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
So let's switch lanes a little bit to the teas themselves and these blends that you've mentioned. Why, first of all, are these herbs something that can help our hormones and to feel healthier and well as we navigate menopause?
Yes, there's a couple of folds to this. The first thing is they're all caffeine free, and I'm a
Yay.
really big believer that whilst caffeine serves some women really well, it doesn't serve everybody really well. And if you've got any sleep issues or anxiety issues, taking caffeine out of your diet is going to have a profoundly positive effect on you. I know there are loads of coffee lovers out there, so I can imagine them drinking coffee whilst they're listening to us chatting. I'm not telling you to throw it away. I promise I'm not telling you what to do. But if you have started questioning if caffeine's having an impact on your body, it probably is. And you can start by making some really easy switches. So that's the basics, main basic sort of ingredient, understanding of the teas is that they're all caffeine free. But I use what's called adaptogens and nootropic plants in the varying ingredients. And you may have heard of something called ashwagandha, which most ladies in midlife have heard of because it's all targeted to us. Well, ashwagandha is a really powerful adaptogen plant, and any adaptogen plants in your mushroom coffees, in whatever else you might be taking, supplements and what have you, adaptogen plants effectively help your body adapt to internal stressors, and their main job is to keep the body in equilibrium. So we then use different adaptogen plants to try and target different aspects. So in one of the blends, we've got ashwagandha and we've got schizandra berry, which are going to work really great for hormone balancing and kind of keeping you on an even keel. I talked about hydrate already, so I've got a blend that is all about trying to keep your body hydrated and really focusing on that conversation and that reminder to you to keep drinking more. It's a great addition to your fluid intake. It's the next best thing you could drink to water, so that's a really great blend. The relax blend is because I had this anxiety issue that I was trying to navigate. And so the relax blend has got natural anxiolytics, which are anxiety relievers, and natural sedatives in there, none of which is enough to be knocking you out. The purpose of that tea is to really nourish your nervous system. And it has the most intoxicating aroma to it, which I hope, because you've had some of the teas, I hope you've been able to enjoy that. And the aroma is as much as important as the ingredients that we have, because that tea is really to try and bring calm on women's bodies. And then the newest blend, which we use the nootropics in, and nootropics are effectively brain tonic plants. Anything with nootropics is going to be helping the function of your brain. The idea being that it increases blood flow to the brain, which increases its ability to concentrate and memorize and what have you. So that blend is called Clarity, and she is the one that was crowdfunded by my audience, so she's really special. But I sort of launched the teas thinking you could have one for each step of the day. So they're numbered 1, 2, 3, and now we've got number 4. But what I've noticed is women really finding their own routines with some of the teas, or getting real benefit from certain ingredients. The most popular blend is Relax, and I think that is the combination of it tasting and smelling amazing, but also just women need more time to relax. Massive conversation. Could talk all day about that, couldn't we?
Yeah, and we know anxiety is one of the most prominent symptoms of menopause. So, yeah, I think what you mentioned about caffeine as well, and this kind of links to some of your story of that self awareness and connection with what's going on and what you actually feeling, which I think generally humans aren't very good at. You know, we're not brought up being taught how to do that, and especially as women. But it's so important as you shift into this huge season of change in your life to connect, because I think it's very easy to feel the harshness of the change and different symptoms. And I've seen this with lots of women, but not take a pause and go, well, is it because my diet isn't that healthy? Is it because I'm having lots of sugar? Is it because I'm having that glass of wine every single evening and a bit more on a weekend? Or is it because I'm now hammering the coffee even more because I feel so rubbish on a morning? Like, we aren't taking stock of actually, as you said, like the connection between our choices in our lifestyle, especially our diet and nutrition and how we feel. And I think, you know, caffeine, I'm someone that's never been able to tolerate caffeine, whether it's, you know, in the simplest thing like cold medication. If I'd ever took one, say someone at work said, oh, here, I've got this, if I was getting a cold and I took it, I knew within minutes I'd say that I got caffeine, and I was like, oh no, coffee, you know, I might have one coffee every week or two. It's decaf, has to be decaf. So I love that. And I think that's really important, isn't it?
Totally. I think I did a post about it on Instagram a couple of weeks ago where I was sort of saying to people, the next time your body is crying out for coffee or caffeine, just stop and think, what is it actually crying out for?
Yeah.
Because normally, I mean, I don't take caffeine anymore, but if my body is crying out for some chocolate or some pasta or potatoes or something like, it's because my body is depleted in energy and I've not gotten the right nutrients into my body that day. I also have spent so long tracking the symptoms of my endometriosis, but I would track things like not just the symptoms that I was feeling, but also the moods that were coming with that. And then I would be tracking kind of what I'd eaten that day. So it's really interesting to do that over a period of time, 3 to 6 months. And you can use color code. I mean, I had little color coded stickers and all sorts of bits and pieces. I'm really active in the gym as well and have been for a really long time. So I would sort of see differences in my performance physically in the gym and my mood during the day or how well I'd sleep. And it would
Mm.
nearly all be linked to the what I'd eaten during that space and what I'd consumed in my body. So look, I'm definitely not the expert on this subject. There are lots of wonderful sort of gut health experts out there talking about these things, but listen to it, but try and apply what fits with your life and what you
Yeah.
can relate to, because otherwise the information just feels really overwhelming at the moment. There is so much, drink caffeine, don't drink caffeine, try this, don't try that. And it's really overwhelming as a woman. But you know what? When you get to midlife, you have the privilege of having had 40 plus years of yourself already and totally knowing yourself. And you're all incredibly intelligent, strong minded ladies, and you can make the decisions that are right for you and your body. And that's where I think we need to find our comfort zone.
Yeah, I love that. So, on that note, it sounds like the tracking and that connection to yourself is really important. I'd love for you to give what you would share as 3 steps someone can take to build habits to have that more balance in this big hormonal season of change.
Oh gosh, I don't know if I'm the best person to answer
Yeah,
that.
and this is just you.
Having utilized myself this morning, yes, I would. So my top tips, and this is, I'm talking to myself, so I hope
Mhm.
this relates to other people. Is I need to take that pressure off of myself. Whatever that pressure is, that it's pretty much only applied by me, and I need to just take that off. And I think there are other ladies that need to do that as well.
I think, Candice, most women are putting a lot of pressure on themselves in a lot of different ways. So, yeah, I totally get that.
Take time to listen to yourself and to be in tune with what's going on. And I would say I was a pretty good person to be in tune with myself, but I'm not always very good at listening to it. So I'm a workaholic, so I can really not listen to my body and care for it and then wonder why I'm up at 10 to 3. I was up this morning and in tears by AM. Silly. I just haven't listened to my body for a few days. So I've overdone it. I've burnt myself out. I've not eaten brilliantly. So, yeah, I would say you're not alone, but listening to yourself is a journey that I am on, and I'm realising that it requires more than just one day of me listening to myself, maybe a bit of commitment. And the third thing is, look, just try swapping a coffee out for one of my herbal teas, because we can be great friends and I think you'll love it. And I'd love anybody to be part of my community. And, my inbox is always open, as I'm sure yours is. Just talk to people and get it off your chest and feel connected to things.
I think they're fantastic and totally relevant tips. And of course, I've tried the teas and I can vouch for them being really, really nice. I'm someone that doesn't drink a lot of hot drinks, but I have had herbal teas in my life for a long, long time. I've tried lots of different teas, and I know that there's a lot of poor quality teas out there, and a lot of tea companies are now stamping menopause on their teas, because we know there's all this meno washing of trying to commercialize menopause. But the first thing that I'd fed back to Candice and her team was the freshness of the flavours. Like, it really came through those ingredients that she talked about, those adaptogens and the blends, the ingredients that are in there. I can't remember which, the very first one I had, I think it might have been the clarity one maybe, and just the smell. And then as you're drinking it, I always leave my tea bag in because I like it to get
Yeah.
as strong as possible as
Yeah.
I'm drinking it still. Yeah, so they are very high quality, and something I
Yeah.
think you
I
can
mean,
bring into your life.
having had the privilege of judging on tea tasting awards and being very entrenched as a trained tea sommelier in the tea industry, what we've got in the supermarkets is mass produced commodity, really cleverly marketed stuff. And I get quite angry about it because it's not what you should be drinking. There are no health benefits to what that is. They've crushed the leaves so much there will be barely any nutrients left within those. They're cheap as chips, which is great, and it makes you feel like you're getting some health, but they're not doing any harm to you for sure, but they're not really adding loads of value. So, and I wanted to create flavours that would knock your socks off and make you feel like that's what herbal tea is supposed to taste like.
Yeah, and that you want to drink it again and again, because as you
Exactly.
said right at the start, it's all about consistency, and we aren't going to magically fix menopause. Nothing is going to, suddenly eradicate those symptoms, but consistent choices and the right kind of choices that become habits, like bringing some of these ingredients into your life. Like, these could be more beneficial. Don't quote me on this again, because I'm not experienced and qualified to say this, but there's so little research into many of the supplements, and a lot of the supplements are packed with fillers and additives as well. Like, these are natural blended herbs and
Yeah,
plants to give
100%.
high
And
quality.
the supplement world is a market. It's a booming and growing market, particularly in the midlife phase. And
Yeah.
there are some really great supplements that you can take out there. One of the best bits of advice I can give you about taking supplements, and that is based on my experience of the kind of medicinal plant world, is just don't buy anything from Amazon. Like, there's some really good brands. Go and speak to your local health food shop. They will have the best sort of quality,
Yeah.
will be able to introduce you. And there's some really lovely, small, independent brands that are doing some really good stuff around the health supplement sort
Yeah.
of space. So, yeah, but it is a
Yeah.
minefield, isn't
Fantastic.
it?
So I am going to pop a link in, obviously, to everything about you, Candice, and Mother Cuppa, and just to let people know, like, where can they buy the teas? Like, are they on the shelves in the supermarket, or is it all online? Is it only UK distribution?
It's all online. It's not just UK. I can deliver around the world. I'm not
Yay.
in supermarkets just yet.
But
Because, well, I didn't really want to give my money to the fat cat supermarkets just yet. I'm sort of thinking of some other ways. We've just created an ambassador program where we're actually giving women opportunities for work and sharing our profits with them if they help us sort of sell it on. I'm wanting to focus on that more than supermarket shelves. We're in sort of some day spas and retreats, and it's such a beautiful space
nice.
for our products to be. So, yeah,
Yeah.
but just come and hunt me out online. Google Mother Cuppa Tea, and I'm on Instagram, and I'm always sharing and having a bit of fun over there. So if you've ever got any questions, just jump into my inbox, and I'll be happy to answer anybody's questions.
Brilliant. Oh, it's been amazing chatting, Candice. I love the whole backstory and
Thank
where it's
you.
brought you to now. And I know there's going to be a lot more of the story to be written.
Yeah, thank you ever so much.
You're welcome.